There we go. Hold tight to the vision. Look at that. Hold tight to the vision. It's the best angle I can get it at right now. Hold tight to the vision. Let's give honor to the source of the creator. I want to dive into this before. I'm trying to create and at the same time, but bro. Let's give honor to the source of the creator and the Most High for making all this possible. Let me first, let's give honor to the ancestors known and unknown. Let's give gratitude. Right now, I just want to jump into this, man. If I haven't learned nothing enough, I know the previous videos I was talking about the importance of highlighting the matriarchal. The energy right now of Scorpio season at the end, tail end of Scorpio season, cutting off, closing out cycles, ending things, the emotional healing that's taking place with the matriarchal, the patriarchal energy, and so forth. Things are so clear right now. This is a masterpiece I just finished up. That, like, it's like the eyes, and it's like shocked at the same time. It's like things are so clear right now, so clear. That being said, I've been speaking about this matriarchal energy because of the fact things that I've experienced and me picking up on the collective energy of how there's a rebirth and things being reborn through the fact of not just our emotions, but the matriarchal and what we have allowed and enabled and will no longer enable, support, and so forth. So for me, that's been very prominent in what I'm allowing and will not allow no more. And what I really getting clarity on with resolving these mother wounds is also realizing that like young men, especially men, wherever you are on your journey, whether you're a father, husband, whatever it is so vital, the type of women you have in your life. And it's the same for women. The same, it's so supportive. Let me be the first to say this. If you are on your healing journey, if you're on a journey of self-discovery, seeking out something and so forth, solitude is important, yes, because it's always important to get to know yourself. At the same token, it's very vital for you to be associated through a vetting process, not rushing, but knowing people or having some type of natural influence or insight on where you came from, what you're going through, and who you're connecting to. Because in reconnecting to people, this would be very highlighted, so much so of how I realizing is that what no longer I was enabling had a lot to do with who I was surrounding myself with or what I was still connected to, what I no longer will connect myself to. And the reason I'm saying that, it has a lot to do with what type of women in my life. Not only that, but what type of energetic, like, resonance, how do they feel about themselves? And there's a saying that says that a man's success, and I don't just mean financially, this has really stuck out for me. A man's success has a lot to do with the women in his life. And the reason why this is so vital is that I'm recognizing this even more clearer. If I hold on to the idea of the mother wound, then I will only get results from that. If I don't choose to face the deep inner wounds connected to the matriarchal, then how will I be able, if I ignore that, then I will just feel that not even entitlement, but that unhealthy attachment, not just attraction, but that unhealthy attachment. And through my discerning, being able to recognize this unhealthy attachment, I start to realize, like, oh my gosh, I do not have to allow this around me, or even not just around me, but have access to me. What am I saying? I had to see the foundations within myself that were enabling the dysfunction from the distorted matriarchal, the distorted mother aspect. If I'm going to represent a man that walks righteously, or just not even just righteously, but holistically and healthy, then through my mistakes or patterns or lessons, I have to recognize who is and what is supporting, whether systematically, the family structure. And so who is supporting that? Who is that supporting cast? What type of characters am I connected to that love to see me in this distortion, that love to see me in this unhealthy rage or unhealthy pattern of self-sabotaging what it is that I no longer want to be a part of. Who is supporting that? And the importance of this is like, it'll show you your supporting cast in your life. Who behind the scenes that you've been ignoring in your dream state, visions, or, you know, what has been shown to you, whether in physical, what has been shown to you, like if you're elevating and ignoring the separation physically that you have to see in order to be able to see clearly, spiritually, emotionally, and mentally about your well-being, who is it that is literally supporting, whether me, encouraging me to be better? Who is supporting that? And that right there shows me not just the success financially, mentally, and emotionally, and on a physical aspect. That really shows me how I can expand my perspective on life. Meaning that if I'm surrounded by women who do not see themselves healthy, speak to themselves in a healthy and holistic way, in an encouraging way, then most likely that poison or that toxicity will seep through to me. And that has been a result of a lot of our adulthood, from childhood. I would encourage women to see women that are more in a successful light, but in the vetting process, but being able to envision yourself first, but also visualize it, you know, in a natural way. That's very important. That was intimidating to me at a time where you'll realize it'll highlight your deepest insecurities, or even highlight imposter syndrome, as I call it, where you don't feel that, you know, success can be measured also by the confidence that you have to step outside of your comfort zone. So that can be very intimidating to a lot of people who are not naturally stepping into their power. And what it highlights, again, has a lot to do with people that don't know how to do it or are not willing to. So you'll be able to see clearly who's comfortable. You're walking in your purpose, or walking in alignment will highlight who's comfortable with being content with where they are. And so for me, I'm like, wow, I really had to recognize, one moment, let me reposition this, but I really had to recognize, like, become clear. I like this masterpiece, but I really had to become very clear on, like, when you hold tight to your vision, it's something I wanted to. When you hold tight to your vision, I really had to become clear on who it is that I was becoming. And in that becoming, I really had to pay attention to who, and it's not so much of who. At a point in time, in who you're becoming, you have to make that decision. And with that, honing in and locking in on that, and beginning to water yourself, it becomes very clear also to who isn't a part of that vision. Now, that doesn't mean that they're not a part of, they're part of being there, and also whether the non-supporting is also enabling you or encouraging you to step more into what your vision is. The bigger picture is that everyone is a part of the vision, but that doesn't mean that they see the vision out just as you're supposed to. They're a part of it in whichever way. I had to recognize, like, wow, they still were a part of the bigger picture. They're you know, and again, this energy of what's happening, you know, astrologically, highlighting the matriarchal, has a lot to do with the fact of us no longer, you know, individually ignoring the underlying issues, the things that can no longer be hidden, that have been exposed. This person isn't going where you're going. This person isn't ready. This person, when it comes to you, the bigger picture, you have to trust the process. You have to see that in your persistence and consistency, that It exposes who is more focused on your persistence rather than their own, who is more focused on your dream, or you're living the dream rather than it being a nightmare for them. That was something I was in the restroom, like, coming into clarity about. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm really living the dream. And I don't mean the American dream or the dream of somebody else. It's I realizing and taking back my power. I'm living out something that is unfamiliar to the familiar. And that troubles people who do not love and like embrace their dream or their reality or their purpose. That you will have people be so focused on what it is you're doing that your dream to, if they're not secure within themselves, you're living out your dream becomes a nightmare for them. And now I had to realize, like, yo, not you, but in essence, I realized I'm not really surprised. Because when you confidently start to step more and more and embody what you're here to do, it will not shock you like what is revealed to you, what is so clear right now. I love this masterpiece. Like, what is so clear that cannot no longer be hidden. And so that is a great thing where the Most High is showing you, or it's like you're seeing a version of yourself. Like, wow, I need to see these parts in me. And that's why I realized with other people, with this energy, everything that's unfolding, I needed to see the version of me that was keeping me from expanding. And so I had to ask myself, Source, as Source, the creator, reveal to me who is secretly hating, who is secretly preying on my demise and so forth. And with that comes with deep revelations, that comes with insight, divine insight, that comes with, insight on even how to move more cautiously, more discerning. That's the beauty of discernment. I'm recognizing like, yo, like, bro, I don't have to sit here and pretend like, I could just move strategically, surgically, instead of trying to pretend like, oh, I gotta stay around, or I gotta do this. I do not. So what I recognize through my experiences with these transits, with healing this matriarch or healing this mother wound, it really has shown me the importance of who do you have, not necessarily in your corner, but the importance of like what type of mindset, like-mindedness people, like who do you have really supporting you. And even with that, what are they sharing? What are they, it ain't even just sharing stuff, because whatever you're doing, like whether you're giving this vision, whether it's, content creating or your arts and so forth, it's so many things that you have to learn to be your biggest fan, or, you have to fan your own fire with that, and aligning with people who have met themselves to the depths of, met themselves on a deeper, more emotional, spiritual, physical level, however you see it. And with that, I have to recognize like the supporting cast. And a lot of us, like, that's very important when I'm talking to you as women and men, the supporting cast that you have. And it's very vital when you're looking at creating something new or and so forth, and people who are not just trying to leech, or people who are just they're being monitoring spirits or acting stalkerish rather than supportive. So that's very important with young men. If you have a vision, the women that you have around you, their dialogue, what's their dialogue about themselves? That'll give you very much insight on how they see you, or how they are going to reciprocate when it comes to your vision unfolding. Whether they believe, it's very important whether they believe in their dreams. Do they have goals? Are they wanting to expand on whatever that is they're doing? If not, then it's going to be a clear indication that they will try to sabotage what you're doing to keep you in a certain place. And the reason I say this is because it's becoming very clear who is a representation in certain dynamics, whether family structures and so forth, friends and business and so forth, where when you pull away, it'll be clear to see as you call your energy back and pull your energy back and step more into yourself. You just step more into yourself where you align with those who do support what you are envisioning. And whether that be with yourself, with source, or even just the fact of with those who would genuinely reciprocate that. And that's something I'm realizing, like, it's so vital to sharing this information and not so-called gatekeeping. The importance of, it's very important when you look at structures of people who you do not see, the types of women who have supported the demise of other people, whether that be people of darker shades and so forth. Like, a lot of these things structurally, I've been saying, like, matriarchally, is the fall of those very things, of those very women, people who you do not see when you look at the patriarchal system. The very things, it ain't just happening in the family structure. It's happening globally. It's happening on so many levels, of people who have secret animosity, who have jealousy and so forth. Do you realize there are people in place in certain structures, governmentally, in certain corporate whatever things, that can see and know the light, the greatness, the grandness, or whatever it is you have upon your life, and in any way, shape, or form, depending on their insecurities, depending on their greed, their status, or wanting to have control, whether it's daddy's company and they're the daughter, wanting to have some type of control over who comes here, insecurities on even someone being more physically attractive, and their insecurities peak because they're more focused on outer beauty rather than inner beauty. What else? People I've learned in the family structure who want to be perceived as the breadwinner, to uphold this false empowerment of what the matriarchal or monetary systems, when it comes to the abundantness of all of us being able to eat from the same table, or learning to build the table together, and that's probably familiar with people of entrepreneur rather than people who have been systematically conforming to a work system that does not want you to build individually or collectively, or build your own table, but rather have you attached to capitalism, consumerism, attached to things unhealthily, having you believe that this is all there is, and not see the abundance of what the feminine energy and principles actually represent, where we're creating a whole new narrative of what the distorted mother, created, enabled through the patriarchal was going on, to where I had to breathe, to where we were creating a whole new narrative of an abundant life, where people do not have to go, what fucking sense does it make to have all these grocery stores with different fucking prices, gas stations? Am I the only one paying attention to this shit? There's an abundance of resources. You're telling me that there's an abundance of resources where you're telling me that a life, or a earth, or a planet, whatever the fuck you want to call it, that has an abundance of resources. You're telling me that there are not just patriarchal or beings, or figures, or whatever you want to call it, patriarchally and matriarchally. Y'all telling me that there hasn't been an abuse of power with control and shit like that? Man, all that shit is exposed just to bring a uproar, a chaos, and certain things, natural disasters, whatever it is, to bring forth something. A new power's on the rise, new leadership, and as a representation of men and women, to be a bridge to our children, to not continue this fucking dysfunction. If you think that the world, or earth, or whatever you want to call it, like, has always been like this, you're just fucking sadly mistaken. They just want to continue to have the vision will become clearer and clearer. These folks, the split is happening. These folks ain't coming with you. Y'all better grieve, and if you ain't already grieved, you better realize, like, these folks ain't coming with you into nothing. They haven't did no shadow work, no inner work. They haven't faced shit. This is nothing new. Well, it is new, but in the senses of, like, the repetitiveness, the things that I've encouraged and warned people about as a messenger, to remind you, like, listen, homeboy that haven't faced his internal wounds, homeboy or your father, your patriarchal figures who have not tried to heal or face anything, that whether it's dealing with the matriarchal, What makes you think that they're going to come along into something? They're not. Same thing with the matriarchal. If they haven't faced anything, what makes you think these people are going to come into something and have access to what is being created? They're not. And those who know, they're not going to have access to that. Because you have to see clearly who is not, who just wants simple access to the fact of the old version of you, to where you had to see clearly who won't have access to the new version of you in this new experience and this new way of being that doesn't make no sense to them. They'll call you crazy and everything else until they see the shit tangibly. So just know it's very important about what it is you're being called to do right now. Y'all take care of yourself. Peace and blessings. Shalom.